I canceled my mother-in-law's birthday in Paris after realizing I wasn't even invited. The revenge was delicious. You know that feeling when something just doesn't sit right? That weird, twisting sensation in your gut that whispers, you're being left out, even when no one said it out loud yet? That's exactly how I felt the moment I saw the group photo. My name is Claire, and I've been married to Daniel for 6 years. His family, well, they've always been a bit extra. Glamorous, loud, dramatic, very into appearances. His mother, Vivian, is the queen of all that. She's the kind of woman who throws herself a birthday party that looks like a red carpet event, complete with gift registries, floral themes, and guest attire guidelines. And every year, I attend. I bring gifts, smile through the passive-aggressive remarks, and remind myself it's just one day. But this year was different. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. It started with a subtle shift. Normally, by late March, Vivian would have already sent out her save the date for her April birthday bash. Think fancy script font, custom digital invitations, RSVP codes. I'd gotten them every year like clockwork. But this time, nothing. No text, no email, no invitation. At first, I thought maybe she'd changed plans. Maybe she was keeping it low-key this year. Maybe she was tired. She had hinted recently that she was feeling a bit drained. Daniel didn't seem concerned either. She probably hasn't planned anything yet, he said, flipping through his emails. Or she's doing something small. I let it go. Until 3 days later, I opened Instagram while waiting in line for coffee, and my jaw nearly hit the floor. There it was, a group photo. 10 of them. All smiles. Standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. The caption? Celebrating the Queen's birthday in the most romantic city in the world. Hashtag Paris with family, hashtag birthday week, hashtag Vivian turns 60-inch Vivian. Daniel's sister, her fiancé, their parents, 2 cousins, even her yoga instructor. All grinning in designer outfits and freaking Paris. And me? Nowhere to be found. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe the photo was old. Maybe they were planning a second celebration at home. Maybe Daniel had forgotten to mention something. But then the tags loaded. The trip was happening now. Right now. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, hands ice cold. I scrolled further, more pictures. Dinner in Montmartre. Shopping in the Marais. A private boat ride on the Seine. Vivian even posted a video. It's so special being surrounded by my most cherished people, she said, lifting her champagne glass, her eyes glittering with delight. Most cherished people. I wasn't even on the list. When Daniel got home, I asked him about it. He looked caught off guard, which said a lot. You didn't know? I asked, showing him the photos. I thought you knew. I assumed you were just working and couldn't go. Assumed. Mom mentioned something about Paris a couple of weeks ago. She said it was tight numbers this year. I figured she talked to you. Tight numbers? Like I was some luxury expense they couldn't afford to bring? I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I didn't cry. Not yet. But something snapped inside me that night. It wasn't just about being excluded from a vacation. It was intentional. A deliberate, calculated erasure. And the fact that Daniel didn't even notice? That told me everything I needed to know about where I stood with his family. But what really hit me hardest was the realization that this had been brewing for a long time. All those small jabs from Vivian. You know, Claire, you really should dress more classic. Some women just aren't natural hostesses. Daniel deserves someone who understands his world. I'd brushed it off for years, thinking I could win her over. But now I saw it clearly. I was never part of the plan. I spent the next few days quietly reflecting. No dramatic meltdown. No confrontations. I just watched from the sidelines as they all posted selfies in matching outfits at Versailles and videos of Vivian blowing out candles at a luxury dinner in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. I thought about the years I'd spent trying to fit in. The gifts. The holidays. The time I reorganized her entire pantry during her back surgery. The bridal shower I threw for her daughter. The countless times I defended her when Daniel didn't want to call or visit. And still, I was disposable. So I made a decision. No more forced smiles. No more bending over backwards. I was going to cancel her next party. Not literally, but symbolically. I was going to take back my time, my peace, and my place in this family dynamic. I wasn't just going to fade into the background like they wanted. I was going to show them what it looks like when the quiet one finally stops being polite. And the first step? Pulling off the sweetest revenge plan Vivian would never see coming. The trip to Paris was barely over when the first thank you post went up. Vivian, ever the drama queen, uploaded a carousel of photos with the caption, "A once-in-a-lifetime celebration with my true family." I feel so blessed by those who showed up, who supported me, who know how to love out loud. Paris was magical. Thank you to everyone who made it unforgettable. True family. I reread that line a dozen times. I wasn't just left out of a vacation. I've been written out of the narrative. And it didn't stop there. Over the next few days, I watched in disbelief as people began reposting and resharing the content, commenting things like, "You all look amazing. So glad you got to spend it with your favorites. This crew is goals. Your daughter-in-law couldn't make it." To that last one, Vivian actually replied, "Sometimes absence speaks volumes." Excuse me? I was done. Daniel, to his credit, was mortified. But not in a "let me fix this" way, more like a deer in headlights kind of way. "I didn't realize Mom was going to air it like that," he muttered, rubbing his forehead. "She always plays these games." Games. I snapped. She took a birthday trip to Paris and left me out on purpose. That's not a game, Daniel. That's war. He didn't know what to say. Just looked away like a kid caught lying. I decided to do some digging. Not out of paranoia, but because I needed to know. Was I the only one excluded? I texted Natalie, Daniel's cousin. We weren't exactly close, but she was sweet and always seemed a little removed from Vivian's mean girl clique. "Hey, I know this is random, but did you get invited to Paris?" She responded 5 minutes later. "Yeah, got the invite back in February. Honestly didn't think I'd make the cut either. LOL. Wait. February. Yup. Group email. Vivian said she wanted to curate a harmonious atmosphere this year. There it was. Curated. Like I was a clashing centerpiece in her perfect aesthetic. I kept digging. Reached out to 2 other relatives. Same story. They all received invites weeks ago. Some even said Vivian reached out multiple times to make sure they could attend. But me? Nothing. No invitation. No email. Not even a fake excuse. It was deliberate. And as I pieced it all together, I remembered something else, something that made my stomach drop. Vivian's actual birthday was still 3 weeks away. Paris was just the pre-party. The real birthday celebration, the one with extended family, colleagues, and a few local socialites she always tried to impress, was still scheduled. And guess who just received an invite to that? Daniel. Alone. I stared at the thick, cream-colored envelope when it arrived. Gold lettering. A wax seal. Vivian's signature over-the-top style. Inside was a formal invitation addressed to Mr. Daniel Pierce, not Daniel and Claire. Not even guest. Just him. I opened it and read the fine print. The event was a sit-down dinner at the Maison Blanche rooftop in Paris, one of the most exclusive venues in the city. Black tie only. Strict guest list. No +1s unless approved. I felt physically sick. She wasn't just excluding me. She was making a statement. And so, I made a plan. No, I wasn't going to crash the dinner. That would be predictable. Messy. Temporary. I wanted something clean. Subtle. Something that would sting longer than a ruined meal. So I started with the most powerful weapon Vivian understood, her image. I went through my messages, photos, receipts, anything that could show the years I'd spent supporting her. Birthday gifts. House projects. Spa bookings. Family vacations where I'd footed the bill and she'd posted as if it were all from the family. It wasn't hard. She'd built her whole reputation around her flawless family aesthetic. The loving matriarch. The curated gatherings. The devoted daughter-in-law. But I had proof of the cracks. And I planned to use them. That weekend, Daniel confronted her. He finally grew a spine. Probably because he was tired of sleeping on the couch. "Why didn't you invite Claire?" Vivian, ever the performer, said, "I didn't think she'd enjoy herself. She's always so distant." And honestly, some of the others felt uncomfortable around her. That's a lie. It's my birthday, Daniel. I'm allowed to choose who I celebrate with. And there it was. Undeniable. Unapologetic. Vivian had finally said it out loud. She didn't want me in her world. Which was fine. because I was about to make sure her world saw exactly who she really was. The truth is, I didn't need to sabotage the party. Vivian was already doing a great job of that herself. All I had to do was turn the spotlight a few degrees to the left, and let the cracks she tried so hard to hide finally show. See, while she was busy booking champagne fountains and floral installations for her rooftop celebration, I was doing some social media work of my own. And I wasn't just posting selfies or thirst trap brunch shots. I was building a quiet little following of people who loved family drama. I started anonymously at first. A TikTok account, a few storytime-style videos. Ever been excluded from a luxury family trip for no reason at all? No big deal, just me being left out of my mother-in-law's Paris birthday bash, while the rest of the family posted about how I was too difficult. It blew up. I didn't name names yet, but the responses? Girl, drop the receipts. Say the word, and we'll storm Paris. This sounds like MIL Narcissism 101. I never thought I'd go viral for being excluded, but there I was, 60,000 followers and counting. Turns out, there's an army of people who have been there, and they were ready to cheer me on like I was their personal heroine. So, I gave them what they asked for. The receipts. Now, I still didn't call Vivian out by name, but I started sharing little things. The time I bought her $400 spa treatments, and she posted it online like her darling daughter paid for it. The family dinner where she sat me at the kids' table. Screenshots of text where she called me cold, hard to include, and not a natural fit. I blurred names, faces, addresses. Legally clean. But those who knew? They knew. The final video? A comparison of her Paris posts next to a list of all the gifts and effort I'd poured into her birthday last year. The one where I booked her venue, did the guest list, and baked her cake from scratch. The caption? Funny how effort is invisible when you're not someone's favorite. Meanwhile, the RSVP list for Vivian's party was shrinking. At first, she blamed travel delays, then work obligations. But I knew better. Aunt Monica messaged me on the side. I saw your video. I didn't know it had gotten so bad. I'm not going this year. Honestly, she crossed a line. 2 more cousins followed. People weren't boycotting her party because I asked them to. They were doing it because they saw her clearly for the first time. Then came the cherry on top, the charity coordinator. Every year, Vivian used her birthday as a mini fundraiser. Guests would donate to a cause close to her heart. Last year it was endangered flamingos. This year some obscure fashion-based scholarship. Except, I reached out to the charity behind it. Politely, of course. Hi, I noticed you're listed as the official recipient for a private donor event. I just wanted to ask if you're aware that your name is being used, and whether you've approved any promotional use for the fundraiser. 3 hours later, I got an email back. We're not affiliated with any birthday event. This is concerning. Boom. Vivian had assumed she could name-drop a charity for social clout, maybe even pocket the donations, without anyone checking. Until someone did. Within 48 hours, the charity's legal team contacted her. She panicked. She called Daniel. Why would someone do this to me? Who would even think to reach out like that? He shrugged. Maybe someone tired of being excluded. She hung up on him. The party still went on, but it wasn't what she imagined. Half the guest list bailed. The venue had to downsize. The charity pulled its name. The rooftop decorations wilted in the wind. And me? I was sitting in a cozy Paris cafe, sipping espresso, wearing a silk blouse I'd bought for her party, and reading the text she sent me. I hope you're happy. You've humiliated me. I smiled. Not because she was hurt, but because she finally felt what I'd felt all along. Invisible. Unwanted. Cast aside. The difference? I didn't post fake videos afterward pretending it was magical. I posted nothing at all. I thought, for a moment, that she might actually stay quiet. After all the chaos, after the charity fiasco, after half her carefully curated Paris guest list ghosted her birthday, I expected Vivian to slink away and lick her wounds in private. But no, that's not how queens like her operate. Instead, she sent me a message. Subject line, for your conscience. I stared at it in my inbox for a long time before I clicked it open. My fingers hovered over the mouse, heart pounding, even though I had nothing to feel guilty about. That's what emotional manipulation does to you. It keeps you questioning your own reality. The email started like this. Claire, I never wanted it to come to this. But I think you've made your feelings clear. I've always tried to make space for you in this family, even when you didn't make it easy. She went on to say I was cold, dismissive, passive-aggressive, and the best one. You've always held Daniel back from truly connecting with his roots. As if his roots meant a mother who gossiped about me at brunch and excluded me from every family decision. Then she said the line that made me actually laugh out loud. I hope you enjoyed turning my birthday into a social media circus. Some of us have reputations to uphold. Oh, honey, I wasn't the one who chose to live for the camera. I didn't respond right away. I let it sit. I let her wonder if I'd cry, grovel, apologize. Then, 3 days later, just as she was probably feeling smug and satisfied, I wrote back. It wasn't long. No insults. No caps lock or exclamation points. Just a calm, direct message. Vivian, for years, I tried to earn your approval. I showed up, smiled, stayed quiet, and excused the things you said because I thought that's what family did. But I realize now I was never part of your family. I was a prop, something that only mattered when it served your image. You didn't just exclude me from a trip. You erased me. On purpose. And still, I didn't retaliate. I told my story. I let the truth speak for itself. If that truth humiliated you, then maybe it was time someone stopped pretending everything you do is acceptable. I'm not angry anymore. I'm done. Please don't contact me again. I hit send and immediately blocked her email. It was like slamming the door without raising my voice. And God, it felt good. Daniel didn't talk about it much. I think part of him didn't want to pick a side, but he knew he didn't have to. The line had already been drawn, and he was watching everything fall apart on its own. Do you think she'll ever stop? He asked one night, sitting on the edge of the bed. No, I replied. But that's not my problem anymore. Because here's the thing, Vivian had built her life around control. Around curated appearances and shallow loyalty. Around being adored, feared, and envied in equal parts. But now, she was just another person whose mask had slipped, and I didn't know her anything anymore. What surprised me, though, was what came next. The quiet texts from Daniel's cousins. The DM from one of Vivian's old friends who said, I always knew something was off. Even a message from a former coworker of hers who said, she did the same thing to my sister-in-law. Different city, same story. Vivian wasn't unique. She was just loud. And for the first time in her life, she couldn't silence the one thing she feared most, the truth. That month, I started planning something I hadn't done in years. A weekend away. Just me, my 2 best friends, and a cozy Airbnb in the south of France. No social media. No drama. No Vivian. We drank wine under fairy lights, ate way too much cheese, and laughed until we cried. It wasn't a revenge trip. It was a reclamation. Of my joy. Of my space. Of myself. It was a Sunday. I remember because I was halfway through deep cleaning the kitchen. One of those rare quiet days where the world feels still and everything smells like citrus and fresh linen. I had music playing. I was barefoot. Peaceful. Then the doorbell rang. Max, my golden retriever, ran to the door before I did, tail wagging like this was some kind of reunion. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole, I felt that old, familiar coldness crawl down my spine. Vivian, hair done, designer trench coat, clutch in hand, standing there like she was about to waltz into a photo shoot. Not the home of the daughter-in-law she'd spent months publicly humiliating. I didn't open the door right away. I stood there, watching her adjust her earrings, check her reflection in the glass. Uninvited, unannounced, unapologetic. Finally, I cracked the door just an inch. Claire, she said, her voice bright and brittle. Thank goodness you're home. Why are you here? She gave a small, practiced laugh, like I'd just asked something adorably naive. I thought we could talk. In person. Emails can be so impersonal. I didn't move. I asked you not to contact me. I know. But I also know how hurt people say things they don't mean. I narrowed my eyes. I meant it. She stood there for a moment, trying to decide whether to fake cry or fake faint. But the street was quiet, no audience, no cameras, so she didn't bother. Claire, can I please come in? Just for a few minutes. No silence. Then, as if she couldn't hold it in anymore. Her expression cracked. The mask slipped, just a little. You don't understand what you've done to this family. I let out a short breath. It wasn't a laugh. It wasn't anger. It was just tired. I understand perfectly. You're just upset I finally told the truth. You turned people against me. No, Vivian. You did that. I just stopped covering for you. She blinked fast. Her voice dropped. You don't want to burn every bridge, Claire. Especially with people who still have influence. There it was. The real reason she came. She thought if she could intimidate me face to face, remind me who she used to be, the gatekeeper of family approval, the queen bee of her social circle, I'd back down. Not this time. I opened the door just a little wider, not to let her in, but to make sure my voice carried clearly. I'm not afraid of you. Not your influence. Not your opinions. And definitely not your tantrums dressed as social visits. Claire, you called me disposable. You painted me as some outsider you had to tolerate for appearances. You erased me from your family, and now that people see the real you, you think I'm the one who ruined everything. She didn't answer. So I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. I'm not letting you poison this space, I said. Not my home. Not my peace. You'll regret this, she said, bitter now. You're cutting off people who matter. You don't matter to me anymore. And I meant it. She left without another word. Just turned and walked to her car with clipped steps, her heels loud against the pavement. Max barked once from inside, like he was saying good riddance. When she pulled away, I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't call Daniel or Jenna or post about it online. I just breathed. Because that was the moment I realized something huge. She no longer had power here. Not in my head. Not in my home. Not in my heart. That night, Daniel came home late. He stood in the kitchen, watching me stir pasta sauce, looking like he'd just found out the tooth fairy was fake. She came to see you, didn't she? Yup. She texted me. Said you were ice cold. I shrugged. I was polite. He walked over, put a hand on my back. You didn't have to do all this alone, Claire. But I did. Because no one else would. He didn't argue. And maybe that was his way of saying, I'm sorry. It's strange how peace doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it just slips in. Quiet. Slow. Like sunlight through sheer curtains on a morning you forgot to set an alarm. After Vivian left my doorstep for the last time, something shifted. Not just in my house, but in me. The weight I'd carried for years, the pressure to impress her, to be included, to earn some invisible approval, it lifted. And I realized I'd been living under a cloud I didn't even know existed until it finally disappeared. And in its place? Space. For peace. For joy. For me. Daniel changed, too. Not overnight. Not in some dramatic, sweeping gesture. But in small, steady ways that actually mattered. He started seeing what I'd been dealing with all those years, the silent competition, the calculated slights, the psychological games Vivian played under the guise of tradition or concern. I should have stood up for you sooner, he told me one night. I was scared she'd cut me off, too. I nodded. I get it. But next time, you don't let someone hurt your partner because you're afraid of losing a toxic parent. We talked more, fought less, grew together. And not because we swept things under the rug, but because we aired them out. Every ugly, painful thing. And we chose us. Vivian tried one last Hail Mary. A few weeks later, she posted a long captioned picture of a candlelit dinner she hosted for herself. The caption read, "Some people lose themselves trying to please everyone. But queens don't apologize for knowing their worth." I didn't respond. Neither did Daniel. Neither did half the family, who were very aware by then of what had really gone down. It was her way of rewriting the narrative, painting herself as the victim, the misunderstood matriarch. But I'd stopped playing that game. Then came the biggest surprise of all. A letter. Handwritten. From Vivian's older sister, Margot. We'd never been close. She was quiet, observant, kind, the polar opposite of her sister. She'd always stayed on the sidelines. But not this time. The letter was simple. And I'll never forget the last line. I wish I'd spoken up sooner. You never deserved that. And I hope you know, not everyone in this family was blind. I cried when I read it. Not because I needed validation, but because someone saw me. And for someone who spent years feeling invisible, that meant everything. A year passed. No contact from Vivian. No drama. No fake invites. No carefully worded, "We missed you" cards. Just silence. And it was glorious. Daniel and I spent that year traveling, healing, redefining what family meant. Sometimes we saw my parents. Sometimes we had holidays with just us and Max. Sometimes we invited Jenna and her loud, hilarious crew and filled our home with laughter that didn't feel filtered or forced. And every time someone asked about Vivian, I just smiled and said, "We're not in touch anymore. Best decision we ever made." People ask me if I regret how I handled it. If I regret going public. If I regret canceling her birthday, not literally, but emotionally. And the answer is simple, no. Because what I really canceled was my silence. I canceled the version of me that shrank to fit her comfort. I canceled the fear of rocking the boat just to keep peace with someone who never offered it in return. And in its place, I built something stronger. Boundaries. Truth. Real love. So if you're reading this, and you've got a Vivian in your life, someone who only claps when you dance their dance, someone who uses love as leverage, someone who makes you feel like you're almost good enough, but never quite there, let me say this loud and clear, you don't owe them your peace. You don't have to keep playing just because they taught you the rules. You get to rewrite them. And when you do, it's not revenge. It's freedom. If this story touched you, share it with someone who remembers those days too.